metallic hails from Canada. This time we have one of the most brutal albums of the year that I've gotten for review, and this one is one of those bands that I've been praising before. This one is NecroticGoreBeast. Got a little flyer with that, but mostly we have this CD. No jewel case so whatsoever. The label decided to just send me nicely here, I guess, to save on cost. Comatose music release, and this is how it looks when already being unboxed for me. So CD, inlay, and the booklet. Now, those of you who have been following the channel really already remember that I've been praising the two previous NecroticGoreBeast albums, and pretty much the only hilarious flawed thing of nature is this name. I mean, it's kind of a goofy, especially when it's like written word to word like that, but hey, we have this saying in Finland: if a band is not shitty enough to ruin the name, then the name is not for sure ready to ruin the band itself, or something along those lines anyway, roughly translated. So this band is still relatively new, 2017 and all that stuff, after which they released a demo and then boom, straight to releasing good albums after one another. Now, I don't take Metal Archive's reviews often that seriously because they're just kind of a biased system, weird system anyways, so often, but it should give you a little bit of indication when you know that there are scores like 95 or 100% after two reviews for these two albums here. Now, my point here is I pretty much can guarantee that I'm not the only one liking this kind of extreme death metal or slam death or whatever you want to call it. Here it said slam slash brutal death metal, and that should give you some kind of idea what this music is all about. If you have no idea what these genre definitions, these sub-genre definitions mean, then, well, I guess it's just better that you start listening to this kind of music by yourself. So Repugnant is the third album by this band, and they're releasing nice 30 minutes of an album with 10 songs, which brings us to the point. Soft and sweet. Not soft and sweet, but let's say nice and sweet in the sense that these songs are not like prolonged for extra measure or whatever. I mean, there are way too many bands that just keep going and going on before, it gets like overly boring. That is like extending their play when it's more than just, expiration day. That is, a lot of bands don't know when to stop. And then there are bands who just know it way too well, and they move from one song to another before you're like, hey, did it already end? I'm gonna go back to it. And that is the sweet spot in so many ways. I mean, once you know that you're finished listening to an album, that you want to go for another spin and maybe another spin after that, then you really know you have something to cling on to. Then you have a keeper. So, NecroticGoreBeast is by no ways reinventing their own wheel. They are keeping true to their own style. For some people, this is a blessing. For some people, it's a disappointment. And then will come the so-called Cannibal Corpse card out of your playing cards deck. You're gonna say, this band doesn't change enough. They're always doing the same album all over again. Well, if you prefer that style, be it Cannibal Corpse or, I don't know, Iron Maiden, I mean, good for you. But if you're kind of a people who like, hey, I want to have the Dark Throne or Metallica thing, or, the kind of a style that you keep always evolving and changing, then this not might be your cup of tea. But I guess that kind of goes on, indeed, with the definition of slam slash brutal gore death metal. My point here is, this is not for random tourists who are always looking for some next new adventure. Maybe they decided to add layers of clean vocals. Maybe they wanted to go with the female vocals. How about keyboard and orchestration? Maybe some prog metal guitar. This is none of that crap. This is focusing on the real deal. Death metal brutality. And this is indeed meant for people who understand other bands of that sort. I'm gonna show it to you what I mean. If you open, for example, this similar artists tab, you will see bands like Devourment, which I also upvoted because indeed this is pointing me to that direction, or Body Harvest, and there are others. You could kind of go in a way to say this is the heavier version of, say, Cannibal Corpse. This is more brutal, more slammy. But then again, this is kind of a hair-splitting thing, really. I mean, these kind of a similar artists that give you more accurate idea what the band is, but that kind of assumes you know these bands. Like, I have never heard of Pighead or Devour the Fetus, so I can only guess they're roughly same area. Now, what you have to understand, however, is that this has no grindy elements, and in my opinion, that's like a big plus. The thing here is, sometimes you just kind of move like a few inches left, and oops, you're like right there in the grindy department from brutal death metal stuff. Or sometimes you just like add a little bit of technicality, and then people will be saying, yeah, it's kind of a technical death metal, kind of like Archbar or Origin. But this is sheer brutality. Oftentimes this is not even fast tempo, it's like very down-tuned, super heavy guitars, the kind of piggy, growly vocals. By piggy, I don't mean the pig squeals. I mean the kind of devil pigs. You will, I don't know. I got the idea from Bloodborne game where this was this monstrous, hideous piggy creature like a demon pig or whatever. And that was kind of giving me the idea of some of the vocals done here. And that's a compliment, by the way. When you get a horror feeling out of a death metal album, you know that something real is happening. Well, that's my take of it anyway. But I guess closest thing you would compare this to if you're looking for some bigger bands. Not that there are that much bigger bands in brutal death metal territory. I guess Devourment would be like putting you somewhere roughly on the map. I find personally NecroticGoreBeast to be better than Devourment, but that's just my opinion. Some people might disagree, and it's totally fine, by the way. So if you're looking for some extreme brutality, heavy guitars, brutal vocals, and none of that extra bullshit like, let's add this seasoning here. Don't add anything. This is like as close to perfection as it could be. If it could be anything better, it could be even more memorable. But I guess that's kind of hard when you combine super brutal death metal and, you really don't make catchy songs. But there is always an exception, even though maybe not so much in the terms of brutal death metal. But think of Hammersmith Face. That's a death metal banger, a hit song. If NecroticGoreBeast could do something like that and then go as heavy as that, it would be perfection. Now, with this take, I urge you to check out this music, assuming you like death metal in the first place. Then again, you probably are not even watching this review if you're not into death metal. So what are you waiting for? Check out Repugnant. The release date was, or is, depending on when you're watching this, November 3rd. So this is very, very fresh from the oven. Check out the links provided in the description box, and I hope you like it. That's all from Rauta. Take care, stay brutal.